Hello and welcome back to Russ's Movie Corner. My name is Russ, and as you can see, I am sitting in front of my movie corner. Have my Through Faith t-shirt on, my Jesus of Nazareth movie right next to me. And as you can see by the frame around me, we are back taking down another atheist. And today, back on the chopping block is Creaky Blinder. This will be the last video in the series, I know because I've already filmed it. And as stated at the end of the previous video, basically, it had blown up into an almost hour-long video. I didn't realize that the last 3 minutes were going to take me this long. So you're going to hear me say, and we're back because I was expecting to just kind of have about maybe another half an hour to 40 minutes of the video and be able to throw it out there. But when it ballooned into an almost hour-long video just in and of itself, I decided that I would just cut it and put it as its own video. So, take it away, me. And we're back. So, for you, it's been less than a second. For me, it's been almost 24 hours. But anyway, we're back, and we're going to finish this video for Creaky Blinder. Had some things I had to do yesterday, so I had to kind of cut my time filming short, but we're back. So, when we left off, Creaky Blinder here was saying that he was talking about how he tries to do a lot of research for his videos. He tries to, read a lot, and he doesn't like to read. But I would go so far as to say I don't know how much he actually is reading. Because, and I also asked the question, what are you reading? Because it doesn't seem like you're reading the peer-reviewed papers. It just seems like you're reading articles that people have written, based on an interview with some scientist somewhere. And the sheer fact that you didn't even know that Alan Guth literally said that there was nothing before the Big Bang and that nothing caused everything. Okay? It's like things just spontaneously combusted out of nothing, which is in direct violation of the 3 laws of thermodynamics. And so, if you, Creaky Blinder, are going to go and make this kind of stuff, and do this kind of stuff, then research. Research, research, research. If you see that Ken Hovind has a slide that says Alan Guth says nothing caused everything, pause the video, look at the little citation, and go do some Google research. And go, okay, Alan Guth did actually say that. Okay, I get where Kent Hovind is coming from on that point. Doesn't make him right. Doesn't make Alan Guth right. But, yeah, that's a point. But you don't do that, Creaky. Instead, you just blatantly, falsely claim that people like me, people like Kent, people like Ken Ham, just get things wrong. Okay? You're just, you guys don't understand anything. Well, I'm sorry to say, son, you're the one that's wrong. Okay? Because generalization fallacies are not the way to prove a point. Because now the burden of proof comes on you to show us exactly where Kent Hovind said every single thing science has ever said is wrong, because that's what you said, okay? And I charge you watching this, that's what he said. You can go watch his video, because the link is in the description below, okay? And you can go watch the video, and you can go see it for yourself, that he said it, okay? At around about between 16 and a half and 17:22, where we're at right now. Okay? In fact, you can go back in this video, okay, to before the break, okay, And you can see where he said, "Hey, Kent says all the science is wrong." No, son. Kent never said that. He's poking holes in the theory, just like I'm poking holes in the theory. A theory, by the way, that Creaky Blinder says is incontrovertible. Which means that it's undeniable, that it's got all this undebunkable proof. But if someone like me, again, as I've stated before, can poke holes in the theory, then it's not incontrovertible. But I have yet to see one atheist, one, okay, find like any kind of evidence against the claims, the archaeological evidence, the historical evidence, all of that. Usually they just try to hand wave it away. Oh, those people didn't know what they were talking about. Oh, the Bible's just a fairy tale. They try to hand wave it away. But they don't have any proof for said hand waving. They just try to shift. They try to pivot and go do the Dillahunty dodge and be like, you just don't understand. No. I do understand. Because I'm actually studying that topic right now for my church. I have a guy that I'm working with, and we're trying to put together some websites that show archaeological, historical, and anthropological evidence for the events of the Bible. Okay? And that's why I'm doing stuff like this, is because when you have people like Creaky Blinder who are blatantly making false claims about things, about people, with no proof whatsoever, they just make statements, then I have to wonder, why in the hell is this guy thinking that he's better than anyone else? Because if he's going to sit there and claim that people like me are bad, people like Kent are bad, and yet he's misrepresenting us, then he's the biggest hypocrite in the world because of that. And once I get done doing my research on the videos that he's done of me so far, believe me, the takedown is going to be epic. And he is going to probably crawl back in his hole and never, ever, ever look at a video of mine again. Because you're going to see just how disingenuous he is. Okay? Because I can guarantee you that, since my videos are along about an hour and his videos are about 20 minutes or so, 21 minutes, he's not responding to my entire video. He's clipping things out of my video that he wants to respond to. And most of them are probably going to be ad hominem attacks with just a tiny, teensy-weensy little bit of science thrown in to try to make himself look legit. Now, I haven't watched the entire video yet because I'm still doing research for it. And like I said, I've been sick. I've had other things going on. So I haven't thrown myself into it. Okay, and that's one of the reasons why I'm completing this one today. So this video is probably going to be over an hour long, just like before. Okay, but we've only got about 3 minutes left, and I know probably at least a minute to a minute and a half of that is his outro. Okay, so we're going to go till we get to the outro, and then we're going to go from there. So let's continue on, and let's listen to what he has to say.
And try my best to explain why. Because
no, you haven't explained a single thing, man. Because again, if I can go back and I can actually poke holes in the things that you're trying to explain or ask legitimate questions as to why do we think that this is, quote, science, unquote. If you're not answering those questions, And if the papers that you're citing or the articles that you're citing are not answering those questions, Creaky, then you're not doing your job. And again, I'm not saying I'm the end-all be-all. I'm not saying Kent is the end-all be-all. But you're trying to make yourself as the end-all be-all when you do these videos. And guess who else does that? Scam Man Dan, Larry Nelson, Dave Farina. Think about it, folks. They all try to make themselves into the arrogant, knowledgeable ones. Oh, we know all. No, you don't. And when you sit there and ask what kind of qualifications does a person like Ken Hovind have, or when I get asked the question, what kind of qualifications do you have? So, if you don't have those qualifications, Creaky, you're being a hypocrite asking that question.
As I am sure we are all aware, any idiot can call something a fairy tale, which is why that's the only thing Kent ever really says.
No. Because, again, hypocritical statement from this guy. What is he calling a fairy tale? Hypocrite much? Come on, dude. Think about it. You're calling this a fairy tale, okay, with no proof, no evidence to back that up. You're calling this a fairy tale, and yet when we come out and say, you know, we ask legit questions about the Big Bang Theory or about evolution, macro, and everything else above that level, okay, we ask legitimate questions about it, and we say, if you're trying to believe in this stuff and it doesn't make any sense, it's become a fairy tale for grown-ups. Because no one has posited proof enough to debunk the questions. Because all you do is sidestep the question, throw up a couple of articles, you don't understand science, you don't understand anything, you suck, you don't know anything. Creaky, I posit that you're guilty of the same thing. You're projecting that onto Kent, onto me, and onto anyone else, okay, who does that. Because you're guilty of the same exact thing that you just said Ken Hovind does. And that I do. I mean, honestly, dude, you're the biggest hypocrite of them all. And unless you can provide some kind of proof that backs up your claim, you have no claim. You have nothing but your opinion. And opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one. Okay? But I have yet to find one single statement in this whole entire thing that is truth, quote unquote, that has come out of Creaky Blinder. He has made a lot of grandiose statements, made a lot of grandiose claims, but he has yet to back them up with actual scientific data. He's used papers, or I would posit most likely articles, okay, written by people who interview scientists. And in some cases, sometimes the scientists write the articles themselves. Okay? But I put it forth that those people don't have 100% incontrovertible proof that what they say in those articles is absolute fact and reality. Because of the questions that I asked before, okay, that I have yet to get answers for. Now, maybe in one of the videos that he responded to me, maybe I'll get some answers in that. But I'm not holding my breath. Because most of the people that watch these videos don't get this far in. They watch about the first 10 minutes of it, and then they jet, and they go into my comment section, you're wrong, I'm right, I win. That's literally what they do. That's all they do. It's pathetic.
Have you all noticed, though, that he literally never offers an alternative or a more compelling argument? What a loser.
See, whatever you...
Son, what have you done? You haven't offered any compelling arguments either. Your arguments haven't been any more compelling than Ken Hovind's. Ken Hovind's argument is, it's a fairy tale. And because this book has so much evidence backing it up, that this is the truth, and that's a fairy tale. Okay? And when he's saying fairy tale, you'll notice that he puts up the thing, he says, long ago and far away. Because what is the atheist/evolutionist answer to any time someone comes up with something that debunks their argument? There's never been enough time. Then how can you know if there's never been enough time to observe what you're saying is true? How do you know then that it's true if you haven't had enough time to observe it? You'll notice that every time you say, we've never observed dogs becoming cats, we've never observed, trees becoming fish, we've never observed fish becoming lizards, what is the one thing they all say? Well, actually two things. Either A, that's not how the theory works, which then they don't understand their own theory, or B, there's never been enough time. So then if there's not been enough time to observe this stuff happening, and all you have is bones in the dirt and layers and lines on paper, okay, that could be easily just as explained in Genesis chapter 6 through 9, I mean, what is it? Because those bones in the dirt don't tell you anything except that the creature died. You don't know if it had any offspring, and you don't know if that offspring had any different offspring. And you don't know if that particular thing was becoming something new. In fact, I'm going to go one step further and posit that, that you guys don't have a clue what's going on with things, and that you don't understand your own theory. Okay? And I don't say that lightly. Okay? Let me see here. Okay. All right. So, let me read something to you. Okay? After numerous experiments, researchers have found that none ambiguously support directed mutation in the case of bacteria. Scientific experiments have demonstrated that penicillin-resistant bacteria were there in the population before they encountered penicillin. They did not evolve resistance in response to exposure to the antibiotic. Therefore, mutations are not logical adaptations that make a creature better suited for its environment. They are completely random, the result of mindless, undirected chance. even if random mutations could happen to cause a lump of a wing to begin to form, how would that help the creature survive? In evolutionary theory, natural selection will enable the survival of creatures that develop some sort of beneficial trait, but until it becomes fully formed wing, any stub would be more of a detriment than a benefit. Consider the following observations from noted evolutionists. The reason for rejecting Darwin's proposal were many, but first of all, that many innovations cannot possibly come into existence through accumulation of many small steps, and even if they can, natural selection cannot accomplish it, because incipient and intermediate stages are not advantageous. That's embryologist Soren Lovetrip. But how do you get from nothing such as an elaborate to such an elaborate something if evolution must proceed through a long sequence of intermediate stages, each favored by natural selection? You can't fly with 2% of a wing. Paleontologist Stephen Jay Gould. Darwinism is claiming that all of the adaptive structures in nature, all the organisms which have existed throughout history, were generated by the accumulation of entirely undirected mutations. That is an entirely unsubstantiated belief for which there is not the slightest evidence whatsoever. Molecular biologist Michael Denton. Mutations do not work as a mechanism to fuel the evolutionary process, which is something that we've been saying for years. And so that's the question that I most often ask is how did a fish become a lizard? Or how did a lizard become a fish? How did that work? And no one, because it's like you can't have fins transforming into legs because it couldn't swim and it couldn't do that. How would it have developed air-breathing lungs when it's a water breather? Because if it's breathing underwater and it starts to take in air from above, okay, its lungs are not suited to that. Because the gills are the ones that separate the oxygen and the hydrogen for it to breathe. Okay? Like you take a fish out of water, what happens? It's drowning. The same thing as if we try to push someone underneath the water, okay, and tell them, breathe air, breathe air. They're going to drown, right? So how did a fish suddenly decide one day, I don't want to breathe water anymore, I want to breathe air? So it flops up on the bank. And then it dies. It's idiotic. Adaptation and speciation, which is basically adaptation, does not equal evolution. And that's what we're talking about when we talk about a fairy tale. Is that all they have are bones in the dirt and lines on paper, and that's it.
Hear that millions of years ago. That's your warning. Fairy tale coming next. Millions of years ago. Stop right there. Close the book unless you want to read a fairy tale.
If I wanted to read a fairy tale, I'd read the Bible. You know.
Wow! Who could have predicted that? Oh, that's right. This guy. Now, wait a minute. Didn't you just say Creaky Blinder not like 30 seconds ago? Literally? That any idiot can claim that these things are a fairy tale. Isn't that what you just said, Creaky? Yes. You hypocrite! You haven't provided one shred of evidence as to why this is a fairy tale. So the same basic thing that he is claiming Kent Hovind is doing, he's doing. That's hypocritical.
That book that you and every other young earth creationist think has all the answer to all of life's questions.
It does have all the answers to all of life's questions. Just because you don't want to believe in those answers, that's your choice. But the burden of proof is on you, Creaky Blinder, to provide that evidence that it is a fairy tale. So far, you haven't provided any. So the sheer fact that you sat there and said, any idiot can claim that anything is a fairy tale, you just did. With zero evidence. The exact same thing that you were doing. The exact same thing that you were doing to Kent Hovind. You just did, Creaky Blinder. So guess what? You want that idiot? You want to know who that idiot is? Look in the mirror.
You can't get any planets, or you couldn't get two specks of dust to get together to form enough gravity to start collecting more. They're all racing away from each other faster than the speed of light.
Well, explain to us why then, Ken.
He just did. Did we forget the laws of motion that you posted in your video there, Creaky? I'm sorry. I just have to laugh at the stupidity of it all. I really do. And he literally put down the first law of motion. Right? What does the first law of motion say? Objects in motion stay in motion until acted upon by an external force. Okay? In fact, let me do this. Let me see here. Let me see here. Seven. 307. Okay. Well, in this one, they're just saying that Newton's law is just force equals mass times acceleration. But basically, and that is his second law of motion. But basically, Okay, so this is a physics textbook from like the 1960s. But anyway, so the first law of motion is what? Objects in motion stay in motion unless acted upon by an external force. Right? So what do we know about all of the objects after the Big Bang? According to science, exclamation point, trademarked. What does it say? That everything is speeding away from each other at the speed of light. Why are they speeding away from each other at the speed of light? Because objects in motion stay in motion unless acted upon by an external force. Right? Think about it. Okay? That's the explanation. Creaky completely missed that. He just blew right by it because it destroys his own narrative. Okay? Because those gas and dust particles would have to slow down, okay, and would have to attract somehow to be able to form into planets, stars, asteroids, everything else. Right?
Love of monkey nuts. Say something useful.
I just did. Have you? Doesn't seem like it.
I'll say this one more time. Any idiot can say something isn't real, but it takes a certain amount of intellectual honesty to explain why it isn't real, which...
And yet, you, Creaky Blinder, haven't explained why this isn't real. Which means that statement that you just made applies equally to you as it does to Kent. Get it now? You haven't provided a single shred of evidence as to why this isn't real. You've just stated it. So the idiot here is Creaky Blinder.
Probably explains why you never do it, because let's face it, you don't even have normal honesty, let alone intellectual honesty. I can't believe that there are actual human beings on the face of this planet that believe anything this complete moron says.
And yet there are people on this planet that believe what this complete moron says. Because again, if he's going to posit that any idiot can say something isn't real, and yet it takes someone to explain, with someone with intellectual honesty to explain why it isn't real, he hasn't done that about this. He's just stated that this is a fairy tale. So he is guilty of the exact same thing that he claims Kent Hovind is doing. And then he has the gall to stand there and say, "Oh, I can't believe that any moron out there would believe anything this idiot says." Ditto for you, buddy. Ditto for you. Because honestly, you haven't provided a shred of evidence as to why this book isn't real. And yet you're going to stand there and make generalization fallacies about someone else, saying all of science is wrong with no proof, make claims about the Bible that aren't true, plus you can't even back up your own arguments. And yet Kent Hovind is the one in the wrong? I'm the one in the wrong? Sorry, Creaky. You're the one in the wrong. And I'm sorry to say, buddy, you need to look in the mirror. And maybe, just maybe, if this ain't your wheelhouse, don't make another one of these. Unless you're prepared to actually back up your claims. Because if you're not going to back up your claims, when you make those claims, you're guilty of the exact same thing. And just like I said before, okay, when you stood there in your video and said, you know, like, what a coincidence. I'm not a science teacher either, Kent, just like you're not a science teacher. It's the intellectual burden is on you. The burden of proof is on you to back up that statement with actual facts. Because I said the same exact thing to Dave Farina in my video series on him. I think it was like 5 questions for Kent Hovind about the Bible. It was after they did their debate. Dave and Kent did their debate back in like 2019, 2018 timeframe. And or maybe it was closer to 2020. But I did a thing where I screen capped a whole bunch of his stuff, and then I put the screen caps up on the screen and then answered it by reading through the Bible and then explaining using exegesis rather than eisegesis. And in the first part of that, I went and, because he had made some bold claims about Kent Hovind, and I started doing some research, basically saying, I just put in like Kent Hovind, diploma mill or something like that. And the first thing that came up, the first Google result that came up when I searched for that was a website called Rational Wiki, which everyone knows wikis can be edited by anyone to say anything, okay? And it frustrates me to no end when I go to Wikipedia to read about a game or read about a thing, and I get in there and like everything is completely wrong because people go in, and so I go in and I edit it to make it right, and then I come back like a month later and it's back to the way it was before, okay? And it's like, obviously these people have never played the game because they don't understand anything, and it frustrates me to no end. So I've just given up on the whole damn thing altogether because it's pathetically stupid, okay? Wiki articles have no basis in actual reality because they can be edited by anyone, okay? And I'm willing to bet that Creaky Blinder, Dave Farina, Simon Dan, all of those guys have all come down to this one thing where they have said, they basically just like Google Kent Hovind and they look at that Rational Wiki article, they read through it, and then they go, yeah, this guy's an idiot, he doesn't understand science, he was never a teacher, and then they go out there and posit these claims. But none of those claims have been backed up by actual fact, okay? Because no one can say that, like, say, Patriot Bible College or Patriot Bible University is a diploma mill, because they do have an accreditation status, which I made mention of in my Dave Farina video, okay? And I said, so it's on, so and because that's when I came back and I said, you see where Dave Farina is making this bold claim of, if you aren't going to one of these 4-year universities and getting one of these accredited degrees or accredited doctorates or accredited whatever, then, you're out. And I'm like, well, then, okay, so my 2-year technical college doesn't matter. And all of the people that have gone through that from its inception until now, their 2-year certification, which has a higher placement rate amongst any college in the world, by the way, that doesn't matter to anyone now? Because Dave Farina says it's not? Because Creaky Blinder says it's not? You see where that line of reasoning goes? And that's why I bring up the fact that it's like, I said, yeah. After I said that, I said, yeah, I'm not I don't profess to be a scientist myself. I never have. But I have done studying, okay? And I pulled out my, what did I do with it? Where did I put it? I don't have it right with me right off. But anyway, I pulled out my little geology notebook and I said, here's my geology notebook. I have my notes from when I went down and went into the field. Okay? I have studied geology. I have studied physics. I have studied chemistry. I have studied, okay, all of these disciplines. Like I said, I was a parapro. Okay? But what does Creaky Blinder do in his first ever response to me? He clipped the part where I just said, I don't profess to be a scientist. Hypocrite much? Being disingenuous much? That's exactly what he's doing here. Okay? And it needs to stop. Okay? There's a reason why my videos are multi-part and they're extremely long. Because I want to make sure that I take these guys down. I want to make sure that people understand where I'm coming from, so that they don't think I'm being disingenuous and only answering parts that I feel are right, that I can answer. I try to answer where I can, when I can. And people like this make these stupid claims and then hypocritically turn around and say, any idiot can say this. Yeah, you idiot. You literally just said that. You, not even, 15 seconds before this, in your video, Creaky Blinder, you literally said that the Bible was a fairy tale with zero evidence. Zero. You haven't brought up one shred of evidence as to why the Bible is in this whole entire 22-minute or 20-minute video. So congratulations, you are the hypocrite. And you are the idiot.
Why do stars evolve? They
don't.
They can't even form.
Well, Mr. Hovind, you'll be surprised to hear that scientists have observed in unprecedented detail the birth of a massive star within a dark cloud core, about 10,000 light years from Earth.
Okay, citation needed. Where is that? Okay? And do we know that it's a star inside the cloud? Do they know that? Beyond the shadow of a doubt. Do they have incontrovertible proof? Can they say, we have measured the distance because we know this kind of thing, blah, blah, blah? Do they know that? That's a legitimate question, okay? It's a legitimate question. Citation needed, A, and B, how do the scientists know? Because that was your thing. We do know. We saw they have all this proof of it, okay? Show it then. Where is it? You didn't even bring out any kind of website. You just showed an animation of what they think happened based upon mathematical formulas of a picture of something approximately, which means they don't know the exact number, approximately 10,000 light years from Earth. How do they know that it's there? And I didn't think that supermassive stars could form. Because aren't supermassive stars supposed to be red giants? The things that, expand before they collapse and then explode into a supernova? How do they know that that's just not a star that expanded into a supergiant star on the other side of that dust cloud, and it now became bright enough that it's showing through the dark dust? It's a legitimate question. Where's the proof, buddy? You made the claim, back it up.
The remarkable observations allowed us to get the first really in-depth look at what was going on within this cloud. And researchers from Cardiff University, Wales, said we wanted to see how monster stars form and grow. And we certainly achieved our aim.
How do they know that that's what actually happened? Again, it's a legitimate question. How do they know that this supermassive star is the one that formed? How do they know that this supermassive star didn't happen behind the dust cloud? It's a legitimate question. Because just like they trot out bones every time, they find something in the dirt, they trot it out. Oh, look at us. Look at us. See, we found these bones. These bones have to be from pre-human hominids. Oh, look at this. And then they find out that it's like from some kind of a monkey. Or they find out that it's from a pig. Or they find out that it's from something else. Or they find out that it's actually got human DNA in it. The problem with scientists is that they don't verify their findings before they trot out and they say, look, this is what we think. They've been calling gas clouds stellar nurseries for decades now. And yet we've never actually seen a star form. And just because they saw a bright spot in a dust cloud doesn't mean that that star formed inside the dust cloud. Could it have? Maybe. Did it? Probably not. Judging by all of the other, quote, stellar nurseries that just turn out to be non-existent. Because nothing is actually forming inside of them. Because again, in 3 dimensions, okay, we're here, the dust cloud is here. Is the star inside the dust cloud or on the other side of it? It's a legitimate question. Okay? And maybe they should figure that out before they come out and make the bold claims. Then they can come out and make that claim if that's what actually happens. But they have to be able to do that. And if they don't do that, then they're being disingenuous. They're being just as disingenuous as the people that rush out with a pig's tooth and say, look, we found this tooth. This is the tooth of a hominid. Ha ha! And then it turns out to be a pig's tooth. Yes, that actually happened. That was Nebraska Man. They literally created Nebraska Man from a frickin' pig's tooth. Okay? It is absolute insanity. So, where's the article?
One of the sources we found is an absolute giant, the largest protostellar core ever spotted in the Milky Way galaxy. But don't tell me, Kent, they are liars as well.
How do you know that it's that? Have you studied it personally, Creaky? Or are you taking their word for it? Because what if they come out later and they say, oh, actually that's just like another galaxy beyond our Milky Way and we thought it was a protostar? Or what if it was, we thought it was a protostar but it's actually just a star that's behind where we thought it was because there was like a dust cloud in front of it? Because like literally when they look at Betelgeuse, right now, when they saw the dimming of it, they don't know what caused the dimming of it. They think it might have been some dust. It might have been some dust from the thing. Might have been just some dust passing through. They're not sure what caused the dimming. Okay? They got really excited, like, oh my gosh, it's going to blow up. Oh! And then it's like they went, oh, well, it got bright again, so we're not sure exactly what happened. Maybe some dust passed in front of it. Maybe some things happened, but we're keeping an eye on it. Okay? And it's funny because geologists do this all the time. Every time there's a dome building event on Mount St. Helens in Washington State, every time there's a damn dome building event, it's going to explode again! Guys, it only explodes every 250 years. It's only been 43. I should know because I'm older than dirt. Okay? Literally, by 5 months, I'm older than dirt. Okay? The thing literally exploded 43 years ago. It's not going to explode for at least another 200 years. Think about it. Okay? That's the problem with our society, is we're too, reactionary. We see something, and then all of a sudden it has to be, it's like, look, we've just discovered this. Have you? Can you prove that that's what that is? Well, not really. But it's true. Okay, it's true. That's what they do all the frickin' time.
Jesus, Ken, I'm actually starting to feel sorry for you. Before you make a claim, it might be a good idea to check first.
Ditto for you, buddy. Ditto for you, Creaky. Okay? Before you make a claim, maybe you might want to make sure that what the scientists are actually looking at is what they say it is, and not something else. Because how do you know that that's what they're looking at, and not something else? You don't. So again, you're a hypocrite.
Definite factor in getting a lie believed is the size.
There it is again. What the hell, Ken? What the hell's next? You're going to grow a tiny little mustache and call it a day?
Creaky. Seriously, dude. I mean, seriously. What is it with your fascination with Adolf Hitler? He's using Adolf's words because what he said is true. Yes, Adolf was an evil, evil man. Okay? But some of the things he said were actually true. Okay? Control the textbooks, you'll control the state. And what have we seen? Okay? When people crammed evolution into textbooks, okay, it has really caused huge, huge effects across everything. Because evolution isn't life-giving, son. It is death. And survival of the fittest, whether or not you want to believe in that concept or not, is what's taught in these textbooks. And it's why we have so much crime. It's why we have so much stuff going on. Okay? Because there's zero morality to it. It's do it however you feel and nobody cares. Because morality is subjective, it's whatever you want it to be. Because there is an objective moral standard, and you don't want to believe in it, which is fine, Creaky, you don't have to, okay? But there is an objective moral standard, whether you want to believe in it or not. And so for you to sit there and try to claim that Ken Hovind somehow has some fascination with Adolf Hitler, when 3 videos ago I actually put his seminar number 5 in my description saying, go watch this if you think that he's like some Adolf Hitler, aficionado. He's basically saying what Adolf Hitler said. That's it. But you'll notice that, see, he's kind of like clipping it to where he's getting it to where it's like, oh, see, here's another quote from Adolf Hitler. He must love Adolf Hitler. You're going to grow a little mustache? Are you? Because you seem to be fixated on his fixation on Adolf Hitler. Because the only time that he ever uses Adolf Hitler is to back up the fact that he said the only way people will believe lies is the size of the lie. Okay? And yes, Adolf Hitler grew up Roman Catholic. And then he started to believe in evolution. And after the First World War, he went to prison. And he wrote a book called Mein Kampf. Okay? And in it, he said a lot of that stuff. And that's the only reason that Ken Hovind is using it, is because when Adolf Hitler said it, he put it into practice, and what happened in Germany from like 1931 until 1945. The country went completely berserk. And what is happening, especially now in America, okay, but what's happening in Canada, what's happening in France, what's happening in Britain, what's happening in Germany, the same damn thing. Because we're teaching the same fucking lies. And we're not teaching the objective moral standard and truth. You hypocrite.
Yeah, we know. For some bizarre reason, you like to use Adolf Hitler as a citation. Why?
I just told you why. You don't even understand why. I just told you why. Because again, Adolf Hitler can be an evil bastard and still say some true things. Okay? I mean, people can be evil and still say things that people use as quotes. Okay? Like, for instance, Machiavelli. Machiavelli was an asshole. But there are people that use his quotes all the time. Okay? Because while 90% of his stuff is evil, there's some things in there that people have used for leadership purposes. Because that's what he used as his foundation to build his treatise on power known as The Prince, which he based on Vlad Tepes, the real-life inspiration for Bram Stoker's Dracula. Okay? Machiavelli studied that, and he put it all into practice. Okay? And yeah, he was an evil bastard. But he used some truths to build the rest of the lies on, which is exactly what Adolf Hitler did. And is it true that people will believe a big lie? Yes. The bigger the lie, the more people believe it. Just look at what happened in America in the last 6 years. Okay? When Donald Trump was elected in 2016, what happened? What was the lie that was posited? He was a Russian plant. Okay? And the mainstream media ran with it for years. It was a huge lie, and it ended up falling apart like a house of cards. So much so that they brought Robert Mueller up in front of Congress to ask him questions about his findings because it didn't show what they wanted it to show. And the poor guy was so far gone he couldn't hardly see straight. I felt so sorry for him. It was elder abuse. It's like Brandon in the White House right now. It's elder abuse. It's pathetic. So people can say things that are true. Okay? And just because you say something that an evil bastard said that happens to be true doesn't mean you idolize that evil bastard. Maybe you, Creaky Blinder, should analyze why you're so fixated on that. And it's probably because evolution has gone fascist. And yes, I'm using this.
You've got no idea, but you keep doing it over and over again. I bet it's your desktop wallpaper as well, isn't he? And your phone screensaver. And listen, there's nothing...
Okay, you're going to need to prove that then. Hack into his computer and see if it's his desktop wallpaper. Go pick up his phone and see if it's his phone wallpaper. See if it's his phone screensaver, whatever the fuck you said it was. The burden of proof is on you to prove that, Creaky, not him. Because again, he's only using it to talk about the fact that people tell big lies. And the bigger the lie, the easier it is for people to believe. Which is easier for people to believe? The Earth is 6,000 years old, or the Earth is billions of years old? And if you walk up into the dirt and say, oh, this layer's 10,000, this layer's 100,000, this layer's 500,000, this layer's a million, this layer's 6 million, that layer's 20 million, are people going to believe you? Probably. Especially if you put a little piece of paper behind your name. And then write a paper about it. Does it make it true? No, it doesn't. But Charles Lyell did it in the 1830s. And you guys swallowed it, hook, line, and sinker. It's the biggest lie ever told. Because he was a virulent atheist that wanted to prove that the Bible wasn't the authority. He wanted to prove that man had the final authority. And what does the Bible say about that? Oh, that's right. If we look at Genesis chapter 3, what was it Satan said in the Garden of Eden? Now the serpent was more crafty than any other beast of the field that the Lord God had made. He said to the woman, did God actually say, you shall not eat of any tree in the garden? And the woman said to the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees in the garden, but God said, you shall not eat of the fruit of the tree that is in the midst of the garden, and neither shall you touch it, lest you die. But the serpent said to the woman, you will surely not die, or you will not surely die. For God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. What did he say? You will be like God. What did Charles Lyell want to be? God. What does secular humanism preach? God. What does universal Unitarianism preach? You can be like gods. Oh, you can do all this stuff. Come on, man. Seriously.
Nothing wrong with having a man crush, but pick someone nicer. See you all in the next one.
Yeah, well, we're not seeing you in the next one, Creaky. Well, the next one we'll see you in is the one that you did of me, where you're being a disingenuous person. Okay? So smash that like button, hit subscribe, drop a comment below. Sorry this video went on for almost 2 hours. I just wanted to make sure that I got these last few bits in. Okay? So, as we say, we will see you on the next one.